The camera flickers on, and before the stage even appears, a narrator's voice cuts through the silence like a spark in a dark room. What happens when the voice of calm collides with the echo of chaos? Tonight, we unravel a story that is bigger than politics, so it is about freedom, truth, and the battle for the soul of conversation itself. Stay with us until the end, because you'll want to hear who joins us in this powerful journey. The audience leans closer, curiosity wrapping itself around their hearts like an invisible thread. It begins on a stage lit not by spotlights but by the weight of expectation. Barack Obama, with that familiar calm presence and the thoughtful pauses that made millions lean into his words, steps to the podium. The crowd falls silent, and not because they must, but because they want to. His voice carries a blend of reflection and fire, a measured rhythm that has always felt like poetry in motion. Yet tonight, there is something different. Tonight, his words are less about policy and more about the very fabric of public life. Here, the conversations people share, the disagreements that shape them, and the growing shadow of what people now call cancel culture. Obama looks out across the sea of faces, young students, journalists, parents, skeptics, and believers alike here, and says, "We live in an age where people are quick to judge, quick to silence, quick to shame. Some call it accountability, others call it cancel culture. But here's the thing: if we're not listening, if we're not willing to learn, if every mistake becomes a life sentence, then we're not growing. We're just shouting." The room hums with agreement, though a few shake their heads. And then he takes a deliberate pause, his eyes sharpen, and his voice lowers just enough to make every syllable heavier than air. "And let me be clearer, this isn't about one party or one ideology. This is about all of us. But I will say these are when leaders use the very idea of cancel culture as a weapon to divide, when they turn the pain of others into applause lines, when they distort the meaning of accountability into a game of victimhood. That's not leadership. That's just noise." The crowd knows exactly who he means. Donald Trump. The former president had often railed against cancel culture, turning it into a rallying cry for his base, painting himself as the perpetual victim of elites, media, and critics. For him, cancel culture wasn't a problem to be solved, it was a spotlight to be seized. The tension in the hall grows thick, like the air before a storm. Some lean forward eagerly, others bristle with defensiveness, but no one looks away. Obama continues, "It's easy to cry cancel culture when people disagree with you. It's harder to take responsibility for your words and actions. Leadership is not about dodging accountability. Leadership is about standing firm, even when the truth stings." His words echo beyond the walls of the auditorium, picked up by cameras, phones, live streams, and headlines that travel faster than breath itself. Across living rooms, cafes, and newsrooms, people begin arguing, debating, sharing, and dissecting his speech. Obama's calm defiance has touched a nerve. Meanwhile, somewhere else, far from the hushed reverence of the auditorium, Donald Trump scrolls through his phone. His brows furrow, his lips press tightly, and then the words slip out like an instinct: "Sad, very unfair. They're trying to cancel me." His team scrambles, typing, tweeting, amplifying his outrage, knowing that every response will only fuel the fire of attention. But back on stage, Obama isn't done. He shares stories not about politicians, but about everyday people. A teacher who made a mistake in a classroom and was hounded online until she lost her job. A teenager whose joke on social media followed him for years, haunting every opportunity. A community leader who spoke a hard truth and was drowned out by digital mobs. Each story weighs on the crowd, shifting the idea of cancel culture from abstract argument to human struggle. "This isn't about protecting power," Obama says softly. "It's about protecting growth, about allowing space for people to change, to learn, to do better. If we lock each other in prisons of our past, how will we ever build a future?" The audience breaks into applause, not the thunderous, mindless kind, but the rhythmic clapping of people who feel understood. A wave of energy sweeps through the room, and even those who disagree can't deny the power of his words. But the real spark comes not from his speech alone, but from the promise he leaves hanging in the air. His final line, spoken with quiet strength, is a call not just to the audience in front of him but to the world watching beyond the camera. If you think this conversation is over, you're mistaken. Tonight is just the beginning, and someone very unexpected will join us to carry this forward. The screen fades to black, the tension unresolved, and the viewers know they cannot look away. Something bigger is coming. The second chapter begins not with applause, but with silence, the kind of silence that makes people lean forward in their seats, bracing for what comes next. The narrator's voice returns, smooth and deliberate. When two voices define an era, their clash is not just about words, so it's about how history remembers them. Tonight, we step into that clash. Obama has just left the stage, but his words linger like smoke after a fire. Across the country, debates rage. Social media is ablaze. Some praise him for his honesty, others accuse him of hypocrisy. And in the center of it all, Donald Trump prepares his counterattack. At a rally not long after, Trump takes the microphone with that unmistakable bravado. His supporters cheer, flags wave, music blares. He raises his hand for quiet, smirks, and says, "Did you hear Obama last night? He's talking about cancel culture. He's talking about me. But let me tell you, nobody has been more cancelled than me. Nobody. They tried to cancel me in 2016, they tried in 2020, and they're still trying now. And yet here I am." The crowd erupts, chants of USA, USA, filling the air. Trump turns the criticism into fuel, as he always has. For his supporters, he isn't a symbol of privilege, he's a fighter, a survivor of what they see as unfair attacks. He paints cancel culture not as accountability but as censorship, not as growth but as persecution. And in that moment, the battle lines harden even further. Back in private, Obama watches the clips, shaking his head. He knows Trump's strategy. It's not about truth, but about dominance. About turning every critique into an attack and every attack into a badge of honor. Obama sighs, then leans forward to his aides. "It's not enough to call it out," he says. "We have to show people there's another way." That other way comes to life days later in a televised conversation. The stage is simply two chairs, a quiet setting, no podiums, no rallies. And then, the surprise, Obama doesn't sit across from a politician or a journalist. He sits across from a young activist, someone who had once been silenced online for an unpopular opinion but chose to return, and not with anger, but with growth. Her story is raw. She admits her mistake, admits the pain of being cancelled, but also shares how the experience forced her to listen, to learn, and to build bridges. Obama listens with empathy, nodding, letting her voice carry as much weight as his own. Then he adds, "See, this is the difference. Cancel culture should not be about destruction, it should be about transformation. That's how democracy survives. That's how people survive." The audience at home feels the shift. For a moment, the noise of political rivalry fades, replaced by something deeper, more human. The conversation goes viral, and not because it's loud, but because it's honest. But the real twist comes at the end. As the program nears its close, the host teases, "We promised you someone unexpected." And now it's time. The camera pans, and another figure walks on stage. Not a politician, not a celebrity. A man who had been cancelled years ago, whose life had nearly fallen apart, but who had worked his way back through accountability, humility, and action. His presence shocks the audience here, not because he is perfect, but because he is proof that redemption is possible. Obama smiles as the man speaks, his words shaky but heartfelt. "I thought I was done. I thought my mistakes defined me forever. But people gave me a second chance. And now I spend my life making sure others get that chance too." The room is silent. The viewers are silent. For once, in a world that thrives on shouting, people simply listen. Obama ends the night not with an attack, not with a victory lap, but with a challenge. Donald Trump will call this weakness. He'll call it fake. But what I see here is courage. The courage to change. The courage to forgive. The courage to move forward. That's not cancelling, that's rebuilding. And if we can learn to do that together, maybe we can heal more than we hurt. The screen fades, and the narrator's voice returns one last time. In the end, cancel culture is not about who is silent either, it is about who dares to listen. And tonight, you were part of that daring. If this story moved you, if you believe conversation is stronger than cancellation, then stay with us. Like, subscribe, and join USA because this is just the beginning. The audience at home, caught between help and reflection, doesn't just hear the words, so they feel them, and they know they've witnessed not just a clash of leaders, but a lesson for themselves.